TV for life.
Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Niresh Aliathambi. I'm privileged to have with me this evening Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe, who is of course the Deputy Minister of Tourism. Good evening and welcome, Professor.
Good evening, Niresh. Thank you for having me.
And I prefer to call you, to address you as Professor, which is of course a far greater honor than being a minister. And you were of course a professor long before you became a deputy minister. Right. So tourism, I think congratulations are in order, because just a couple of days ago we got the news that 2 million tourists have now visited Sri Lanka. So that's lovely, and we are looking forward to the season, which of course is over the next 4 months. So great things are expected of the industry. Can I have your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I mean, tourism industry of Sri Lanka has not been on rosy, cushy path in the history. Well, after series of challenges we have had last year and this year, things are moving nicely. In fact, I believe, we need, particularly at this difficult time in Sri Lanka, for much needed foreign exchange earning, we need this tourism industry to function hassle free. So in that sense, I think yes, because yesterday actually we received the 2 millionth tourist to Sri Lanka. That was 17th of November, and last year also we got 2 million visitors, but it was on the 26th of December we received. So we are very much hopeful, and we can close this year very close to 2.5 million visitors, which means some substantial earnings, also 3.5 plus billion USD from tourism, which, as I said, is critical at this moment for Sri Lanka. And we are very much optimistic that things will move on the hassle free for tourism, since it is very, very fragile business.
Right. So you said the words hassle-free twice there, and you are quite correct, because we don't need the industry to come under undue pressures. We don't want tourists being hassled. We want our people to behave, which sometimes they don't behave, and there are incidents, and those go viral on social media. So perhaps you'd like to say a few words to the population about how they need to be respectful of tourists.
Absolutely, Niresh. There were a couple of videos on tourist harassments last week. We immediately took actions actually, and both of those culprits were arrested yesterday, and one surrendered yesterday morning. But the message to the public, the request that I need to do is, as I said, if you need to support Sri Lanka, if you need to have a very good name for Sri Lanka, just be tourist friendly. And we are a nation of very well known for hospitality historically, and we have a heritage, culture. So I think we need to behave as human beings with basic respect to individuals, what sort of nationality they are. So let's respect, be tourist friendly, and be hospitable nation, and I'm sure we can be a unique tourism destination in the world.
Right. So if you want to misbehave towards tourists, go somewhere else. Don't do it in Sri Lanka. Go to another country. Right. Now, Professor, we are looking at 2 million plus tourists this year. Next year, hopefully, maybe even close to 3 million. So we are well on our way with the targets as far as numbers of foreign visitors. But once we get those numbers flowing, we need to constantly try to market ourselves to a more affluent class of tourists, because after all, the country needs more money, more foreign exchange. How are we in that area?
Well, perfectly agree with your statement. Given the, to elaborate on this issue, if we take like, 2018-19, we did a survey, and this survey resulted average expenditure from a tourist visiting Sri Lanka is about $181. And we did a similar one.
That's per day, is it?
Per day,
Per day,
yes.
right.
And we did a similar survey in 23-4 that resulted $171. And again this year, June, July, we did a survey with 10,000 sample. The result was $148 per day. I think which is fair, in 18-19, the dollar was 180 or 172 actually on that calculation against the rupee, but today is 300 plus. So in that sense, and the global trends and what is happening in now, if we take the same figure in India, it is $122 per day. Yeah, and Thailand it is 100. Vietnam, Cambodia, somewhere 100 to 115. So I think it is very much in line. So in the region, if we take 148 is a good one, but we need to level this up. Definitely, we need to go for the high market, high value tourism. But to do that, I think we need to enhance on the product quality. Yeah, so we basic infrastructure, the sanitary facilities, service, and so forth. Top branded hotels we have to have. If you take the case of Maldives, it is $250 to $300 per day because they are into the luxury end. Yeah, so marketing, of course, we are doing routine marketing activities, but a branding campaign we need, and we need to position or create a brand image for Sri Lanka. Kind of but to do that, we need to definitely invest on the product enhancement, product development. I mean, including the cleanliness, safety, all such areas, and then only we can, level up to a different level of tourism. And in the long run, I'm sure we are investing, even this budget, we have proposed certain projects. With that, we can reach up to, kind of a high value tourist destination in the region.
Right. So you spoke of enhancing the product, and of course, a lot of it has to do with cleanliness, public order, and so on. But what more needs to be done apart from obviously building more hotels and so on? What more can governments do? What can local governments do? Because for many years we ran without proper local governments, and now for the last few months we have had local governments in place. It's still early days for those local authorities, but how do you want them to push this national agenda forward?
Yes, I think you put the discussion into a kind of a very important area, Niresh, because Sri Lanka as commercial business tourism started in 1960s, and we have the Tourism Act, and the organization established to run or govern, administer this industry is the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. And this is in Colombo. We have kind of a number of staff, but I think now there is a huge informal market has grown around the country. Most of these properties are not registered with Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. They are very much beyond the control and standards of our focus. I think so. To get this effectively into the system, regulate them, standardize them, monitor them, we need to involve the local governments. So we are looking for a revision of the existing Tourism Act to devolve some of these responsibilities to the local governments, and with them we can then work effectively to control, because from the central body alone in Colombo we cannot do this. Therefore effectively we need to engage them, and I'm sure with the new act we can devolve certain areas, registration, monitoring, standardization, training, capacity development to the local governments as well.
Now that's very important, because even for these small hotels and homestays, you need to have certain standards, don't you? Because all it takes is one or two incidents where, let's say, a tourist gets hurt, or a tourist is dissatisfied, and then they have this habit of going on social media and it goes viral.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it is about, as I said, marketing itself. Well, we have actually the guidelines for homestays. Only thing is whether they are being implemented, followed, and monitored. That is where the weakness is, because as I said earlier, this central body here in Colombo cannot do this alone. So therefore, we need to, certain areas, like we need to give that to the responsibility to the provincial councils and local bodies. We have, 9 tourism ministries all at province level and local bodies. So they have the capacity as well. So a strong connection, and of course invest in ICT, digitalization of the industry, monitoring all these things would enhance the control efficiency of these activities which we are working on.
Right. Professor, you spoke about a national branding campaign, and this is something which sadly successive governments have just not done it. And that's pitiful. And it's not just about tourism. Um, it's about making our country known worldwide. I mean, we sort of assume that the rest of the world knows about Sri Lanka, but it's actually not true. I mean, if you take Asia, Asians generally know, they've heard of Sri Lanka, and perhaps the Commonwealth countries as well. They've heard of Sri Lanka, but the rest of the world really hasn't heard of Sri Lanka. During the war, of course, they heard of Sri Lanka for all the wrong reasons, and then also during the economic debacle. But now they need to hear about Sri Lanka and all the good points about Sri Lanka, and we need that national branding campaign. When can we expect this? And of course, you can't just do it overnight. It takes a lot of thought to come up with a proper national branding campaign. But what's the progress of that?
Yes, Nilesh, certainly we need one, we agree. And the points that you mentioned, actually, just before I had a meeting with the Deputy High Commissioner of United States, and she has traveled all over the world, but she didn't know that we have elephants and leopards in Sri Lanka. You see, where Sri Lanka's brand is, we have the highest leopard density here in Yala, and 100, 200 herds of elephants around, So, yes, we need a branding campaign to brand Sri Lanka internationally. What kind of a image we need to work on is, of course, professionals, they need to do it. Coming back to the technical stuff, yes, many countries, like, the very well run campaign known to us is the Incredible India campaign. They are running from 1990s. And then we have Truly Asia, Malaysia, Love Philippines, campaigns like that. But Sri Lanka's case, very unfortunate that each and every government come into the power, they used to run a project. This has been the experience. So when we came to power last year, there was a project which was ready to launch. There were certain technical issues with procurement and things, so that has been cancelled by now, and a fresh campaign for next 5-10 years for the long run is being prepared. Actually, the advisory committee, we have a tourism advisory committee to the minister, many of the members from the private sector, and they have put forward a proposal for a next decade. And that we need to get the clearance from the cabinet, which will be very soon. And in the coming year, we are going to put this out, particularly digital campaign and rebranding and branding Sri Lanka internationally for tourism. But as you said, not only for tourism, generally Sri Lanka's image at global level.
Right, because it matters a lot, not just for tourism, but for investment and diplomacy, bilateral relations, multilateral, membership in all these global and regional organizations. It matters a lot, doesn't it? It's sort of like your personal brand. You need to be known in order to be attractive to the rest of the world. So this is something which, unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, it's sort of fallen to the tourism authorities to do. But it's more than that. It's deeper than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, it is not actually only tourism. It is about our nation's brand, how we position our nation in the rest of the world. So, as you said, it is not only something that tourism is focused. There are so many other organizations. We will put all of them together and in one table and discuss this, what kind of a brand that we are going to build globally for our country, and mainly, as you said, for investment, attracting investment, and to build a trust of multilateral agencies, like you said, IMF, World Bank, and ADB. So, and for all these things, what kind of image that we are going to build for this nation at global level? So, this campaign we are ready to launch in the next year.
Excellent. Now, Professor, many of the private sector entrepreneurs and the heavyweights in the tourism industry, they have complained over the years, over the decades, that governments have not placed enough importance on the tourism industry. One example is that elections were often during the tourist season, so immediately you have travel advisories and then the number of tourists would drop. So things like that, but also when it comes to let's say taxation, bringing in duty-free or reduced duty vehicles for when refleeting for tourist purposes, things like that, assistance from the government. What is the policy of the present government when it comes to tourism? How is the government actually looking at the tourism industry? Whereas in the past, various regimes just looked at it as, that's just another industry. But how does the government view the industry?
As I started, this is one of the key pillars of our economy. We believe, this is critical to our economy, particularly at this moment, but even in the long run, Niresh, because now we have managed to establish the macroeconomic stability to maintain this in the short run. And we are planning, actually, His Excellency the President announced that in the medium term, 7% economic growth, to maintain this. I think we need huge investment from the private sector. Public sector investment, if you take it, is just 4-5% nearly this year's budget. So we need, like, if we calculate this formula to reach up to 7% economic growth, it says some 35% of investment has to come. So in that sense, 30% plus has to come from the private sector. So we need to build the trust in them. So tourism is an industry is run by private sector. So this is why I mentioned all our advisory bodies, President's task force, private sector, stakeholders are engaged. And actually, tourism industry, we charge tourism development levy, 1% of the income from the private sector, and that is going to a different fund. And this fund is reinvesting for training, for branding and marketing, product development, for the industry. As you said, some of the points like refleeting of the vehicles, proposal has been already actually tabled to go for such a proposal. Depending on number of perhaps amount of dollars they have earned, we will give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever the number of vehicles for them to. We will pay the tax from this fund, which is coming from the private sector. So as a policy, we fully admit that this industry totally run by private sector. Government's role will be regulation and facilitation, which we will do.
Right. Now, we spoke earlier about the need to bring in more high-end tourists. And what's the strategy there? Of course, we have more hotels which are targeted, which are more luxurious. You have the larger hotels and the smaller ones as well. But what's the strategy that you would like to see adopted to bring in high-end tourists?
It's a good question, and as I said just before, I met this deputy ambassador, and we are planning to work with them. They have some interest about air connectivity and tourism, but particularly the India's economy is growing very fast and huge market portion is there. So next year we will plan specifically targeting Indian high market for a different marketing campaign to attract them. That is marketing aspect of it. And the product development, again, coming back to now, if we take now Colombo is, I think, is almost ready. Now we are planning to invest 2.5 billion to develop Bere Lake area to be more attractive for tourists, and the marina is being private investment in the port city which is coming. So these, I think, can cater or attract some high-end visitors. So now with this facilities coming in, I think the point what is left is marketing, which we will start next year to attract more affluent or high-end visitors. So one major thing for this is the domestic air transportation, which again we have looked at in this budget to develop the facilities at Palali and then Hinguragoda airports, to develop them domestic airports, so that we can, because this high-end visitors, they need air transportation even within. They don't want to waste hours and hours on ground. So with these facilities we can attract and more. So governments we are looking at this segment as well.
Right, and Palali in Jaffna is of course an international airport, although it's a small one. It's not able to take very large aircraft, but I believe there are plans to develop that one as well. And Hinguragoda is ideally sited to serve the northeast and the north central. Right. Any other domestic airports apart from those two? Because various governments have thrown up one in Nuwara, and another one in Puttlam, and so on and so forth, as various embassies, I beg your pardon, as various MPs push for those in their constituencies. But there has to be a national plan. So are there any other domestic airports, perhaps even existing ones, which need to be developed?
Well, Mattala is in focus from that end, again, international one. But Nilesh, we are very much, facilitating and working on the seaplanes, where we can reach up to Batiklo, Kandy. Now Handapanagala, we can cater from that end, Buttala Vallavai area, then Veeravila and all these, even Polonnaruwa, Parakram Samudraya. So these, clearances, security clearances, we have cleared. Even Bere Lake, we recently gave the security clearances so that we can get those, visitors directly from Katunayake Airport to Bere Lake landed here by air. So I think at the moment there is no other, in the short run for domestic airports that we are looking at. But the development of the existing ones and the seaplane facilitation is the key focus right now.
Right, and now we need to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Face to Face. I am with Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe, who is the Deputy Minister of Tourism. Professor, you mentioned aviation, airports, and let me ask you about the elephant in the room, our lack of capacity at Bandaranaike International Airport. And I say this with a lot of regrets, because some time back, I believe it was in 2010, I wrote an article in a newspaper about the BIA's massive expansion plans. It was going to more than double in capacity. By 2015, we should have had an airport which was double or more in capacity to what we have now. But unfortunately, some idiot decided that they'd go and build an airport in the jungle instead, and all the resources were taken over there. So now we are still left with the same size airport, and it's bursting at the seams. And of course, we get a lot of criticism as a country, but then you can't build a new terminal in a month or two. It takes years. What's the situation there? Well, how soon can we expect some progress?
Yes, Nilesh, you are absolutely right. Since we are a small island and we have two gates, that is ports and the airport. So if these two gates are congested, then it's a challenge for us to be open to the global business, trade, tourism, and so on and so forth. Therefore, I think it is critical for us to expand our entries or entry gates in the right time. As you said, it's a long delayed project. For decades it is delayed. This airport as Colombo one is for 6 million annually. Now it is nearly 10 million we are doing. With all such, I'm sure that there is congestion, traffic, dissatisfaction because of this. So there is the long delayed project in front of us. At a time the investors went back, actually donors. Now they are back with us, and the technical evaluation and the financial evaluation is going on. And I'm sure in the early month of the next year we can award and start the construction. So it will take at least I guess 1 year or so plus for the second terminal. There is a proposal for the third terminal also in Colombo Airport, which is another option we are looking at. There are interested groups, for such an investment as well. So we are working on both, whichever the fast we are going to execute. But this expansion project funded by JICA, which is due, and hopefully January, February we can start.
Excellent, because as you said, the airport was built for a capacity of 6 million people, and we're running 10 million already. So this is very much a private bus mentality, and you cannot have your international airport running like this, because some of these foreign visitors, they've traveled, if you're coming from Canada or the United States, they've traveled almost a whole day to get here, and then if they have to spend a couple of hours in queues, then it defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Now when we travel, I'm sure we all experience how the airports have been expanded and developed in other countries. So we feel sometimes, very much sorry about we have not been able to do this for decades. I think it is high time. And as you said, particularly for an industry like tourism, we need to keep the visitors happy. This entry at the airport, they will get some, impression about this country, the experience that they are having at the airport. At the same time, after, couple of days of tour, 10 or whatever, they will get back again from this place, the last memory that they are going to take. So that is critically important, the whole experience and the impression they are going to take back home. So therefore, I think a very well designed, well facilitated, nicely appointed airport is critical for tourism. In fact, right now this has been the bottleneck for us to go for our targets as well. Therefore, I think it is very much delayed, but we will prioritize and go there, because otherwise it has become a bottleneck already.
Right. Now, Professor, I'm going to ask you a question in a area which is actually outside of your ministry, and that is the railways, which I know comes under a separate ministry. But Sri Lanka's railway system, especially the upcountry line, is world famous. It's so picturesque. The views are just fabulous. But the service, the tracks are bad. There's a lot of derailments which happen, and then the whole train schedule gets messed up because you have one derailed train, and then for several hours everything stopped. And also, of course, the trains themselves are old. They may not be as comfortable as we'd like them to be, or as reliable technically. And this of course impacts the average Sri Lankan, but it also has a huge impact on tourism. What's the situation there? And again, it's not your ministry, but obviously you do have an interest in this.
Yes, we are very closely working with Sri Lanka Railways and the ministry. As you said, it is critically important for tourism as well. Last year, Sri Lanka's upcountry rail journey has been identified as one of the fabulous tourism experience that one must experience, actually, this rail ride. And the situation is actually we cannot cater the capacity. Now there is this LODC where the ticket price, let's say if it is 4,000, open market it goes to 12,000. This black market ticket sales and all these kind of things are going on, but now that is very much controlled. But Sri Lanka's railway system around the island, we can use this for tourism. I mean, if we write, but when you hear about Sri Lanka Railway, I'm sure there is some idea or image coming into your mind, So we need to modernize this, digitize this. As you said, this budget we are going to invest for a couple more new engines and trains, because capacity is a huge issue at the moment. So with all these things, again, particularly the hill country and then the southern line, yeah, and Jaffna, there are a couple of air conditioned trains now introduced. So with all these things, we are going to modernize this, and there are a lot of plans and investments proposed even in this budget for Sri Lanka Railway to uplift the standards. And in fact, this dream destination project we introduced last year to renovate 100 railway stations with the contribution of the private sector. That was started with the Talpe railway station, which is almost completed right now, and the Maradana, and then 5 railway stations from my own area, Badula district. So with all these things, we can uplift this to cater to be it a attraction, actually part of the tourism product. Yeah. So with all these things, we have very much hopes about Sri Lanka's railway to be effective component of Sri Lanka's touristic experience, and we have proposed actually to invest on this as well.
Right, and you mentioned Jaffna. What are the plans for northern tourism? And I say this in the backdrop of just a few weeks ago, Jaffna made it to a very prized sort of spot and was recognized globally as one of those must-visit destinations. Yeah. So there's a lot to see in Jaffna, but how do we develop that?
Yes, as you said, it was Lonely Planet actually identified one of the top 25 destinations for 2026 to visit Jaffna. That's a fabulous achievement for us, because we have very much targets or focus on Jaffna, particularly World Bank. During our meeting with the president from the World Bank, they promised $200 million for tourism. Mainly targeting northern province. Now we have introduced, the project is almost on way, an international cricket stadium, where now we are negotiating actually investors to come and invest for hotels there, because when you have the international cricket stadium, I'm sure we can attract some good cricket tournaments from India there. And there are beautiful islands, beautiful beaches, which I have seen in Sri Lanka, in Jaffna. These places and small islands, these are fabulous for tourism. There is a huge cultural center in the center of Jaffna. I mean, this was funded by the Indian government. And with all these things, I think Jaffna should be the next focus for Sri Lanka's tourism. And we are going to invest on this. ADB, World Bank, they are funding. And also from this budget, we have allocated 131 million to improve basic facilities in touristic areas. So it's to facilitate and invest on basic infrastructure. So then the investors will come. Even we are negotiating with some of the investors at the moment, some top hotel chains, to come to Jaffna and invest. I'm sure we can make it a reality in coming couple of years. Jaffna is being a fabulous tourist destination.
Right. And what about the East Coast, which we all know has some of the most fabulous beaches, and along with the South and Southwest, it makes Sri Lanka a year-round destination. What plans for Trincomalee, Arugambay, and so on?
Yeah. Arugambay and Pasikuda are already attractive destinations, and there are a number of local and tourism hotel businesses, and visitors are quite good during the last couple of months. But down Arugambay, the Panama area, recently we visited, there are huge potential in that area, particularly for surfing. There are certain places even invested halfway and just left, and these are now we have opened them for investors to come back. The land clearances, particularly the transparency of giving lands for investors. And then coming back to Trincomalee, as I said, now places like there are certain land plots again released by Sri Lanka Defence for commercial or tourism. So they will be open for investors. And in fact, recently we gazetted some of the call for EOIs for investors. We have received 300 plus, which are being evaluated now. So we will call for detailed project proposals in Trincomalee, Russell Thorpe, Kuchuveli, for these areas. Beautiful beach slots. So there will be there are 300 plus proposals already we have. So we will now pick the appropriate ones depending on sustainability, economic capacity, and things like that. So those are on the way. Going above, the Kuchuveli has been declared a couple of years back as a tourism zone. Basic facilities, infrastructure, particularly such as water, need to be ensured. But there are a number of investors already have come up. We also have some more lands there which are open, Kuchuveli. Even going beyond that, now we have negotiated with ADB to from Kuchuveli and beyond that beach stretch, because it's barefoot yet, just after war finish, these areas yet to reap the economic benefits particularly. So tourism will be in that stretch as well, which we are going to move on to those areas with the support of ADB.
Right. Now, Professor, tourism employs an enormous number of people, not just in hotels, airlines, and as the tourist drivers and so on, but in the support industries, from vegetable farmers to handicrafts people and so on. And these are mainly SMEs, small, medium enterprises. What support can be expected from government programs for SMEs in the tourism sector?
Yes, in fact, from the Ministry of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development, we have allocated 80 billion plus, funds for subsidized loans, collateral free loans and low interest loans. For tourism related SMEs who are registered with SLTDA, they are entitled for these loans as well. We have included them, even homestays, small guest house operators, whoever. If they are serving tourism industry and registered with us, they can go for this scheme. That is something. And also we are giving concessions on electricity bill for such registered tourism businesses. Going beyond that, actually, for employment, we also have allocated 500 million in this budget to train rural youth with the NVQ, Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission, and registered hotel and tourism training schools to train. I mean, it is estimated that 800,000 youth required in 2030. So we have almost double with the Sri Lanka Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, but we need more. So we are going to expand further while engaging private sector to train rural youth for the industry as well.
Right. And Professor, what about cruises, which we've seen the number of cruise ships coming into Sri Lanka increase somewhat, but this is an area of vast potential. Are you satisfied with the progress there, or and how do we get more cruise ships coming into Sri Lanka?
Well, Nilesh, cruise business is a kind of a different segment, and they come and here for one day or couple of hours or whatever. But we need to actually develop the facilities, purpose-built cruise terminals, Trincomalee, Colombo, somewhere south. We need that, and all the facilities for them to catch this market up. Now what is happening is there is one ship coming there in Hampantota and get them out and go to Yala and come back. There is no much benefit that we are getting. Colombo the same, they are here for, but we need to purpose build cruise terminals including shopping, duty free and all such facilities to operate this one. Also the marketing aspect of it, there are main key cruise operators going through the Indian Ocean, but we need to go into those markets and market ourselves as a cruise destination as well. But having said that, this is a very sensitive tourism segment. We need to be careful with this culture congestion, these as well. So I admit that we have further room to develop, but not to move on this market further. Maybe upmarket tourists or tourists who come for the adventure, rural, eco-tourism and things. Cruise market maybe little bit of a increase, not that much as well.
Right. And we're almost out of time. So my final question, Professor, is about connectivity with India. You mentioned earlier that we are targeting more high-end visitors from India, and air connectivity is fairly good now. We've got so many flights coming in from various cities in India, but the sea connectivity is still rather sporadic. Of course, we have to contend with the monsoons, when it's bad weather, those monsoon periods, obviously ferries can't operate. But what would you like to see developed in this segment? More ferry services between more points in the northern province and the northwest to ports in India, perhaps?
Yes, actually at the moment, as you said, there is the ferry service from India to Jaffna. There was one to Talaimana as well. I think, yes, as you said, this is a very potential area for tourism that we need to develop. And recently we visited Jaffna, and there need to be, good old days. I have some friends in Badulla who have the tickets from Badulla to, Kerala. They have traveled by train, So this, I think, we need to develop the ferry there, yeah, and the facilities. We need to invest a lot on those, but it should be focusing on the tourism, yeah. As you said, controlling on the traffic as well. There is also huge potential, particularly from the southern part of India, using this ferry service because it is economical in terms of the cost. So therefore it's some very potential area to work with, as you said, subject to the weather conditions like monsoons.
Right, and I'm afraid we are out of time. My thanks to Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe, who is, of course, the Deputy Minister for Tourism. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, Professor.
Thank you very much, Nilesh, for having me.
And thank you to you at home for watching. Don't go away because the news is coming up next. Have a great evening.